The sun blazed mercilessly over the dusty football field as Marcus sat on the bench, his heart pounding. He had saved every penny from his weekend lawn mowing jobs to buy a pair of second-hand cleats, hoping they'd be enough to earn him a spot on the team. His dream was simple: to play football, to prove he was more than just the skinny black kid from the wrong side of town. Coach Harper blew the whistle, his booming voice calling out, "Next up. Let's see what you've got." Marcus's moment had arrived. He stepped onto the field, knees trembling but determination blazing in his eyes. He ran the drills with everything he had, weaving between cones, chasing the ball, and launching a near-perfect strike into the net. But as he turned back to the sideline, breathless, he caught Coach Harper's unimpressed scowl. "Next," the coach barked, barely looking at Marcus. "Wait, coach, I can't," Marcus began, but Harper cut him off. "Kid, this isn't charity. We need players who can win games, not someone wasting my time." Marcus's chest tightened. He felt the stares of the other boys and heard their muffled laughter. Head down, he walked off the field, his cleats kicking up small clouds of dust. But as he reached the fence, a voice called out, "Hey!" Turning, Marcus saw an older janitor, Mr. Coleman, leaning on his broom. "Tough break, huh?" Coleman said. "Yeah," Marcus mumbled, trying to hold back tears. "Let me tell you something," Coleman continued, his eyes kind but firm. "Life's like this game. People doubt you, overlook you, maybe even laugh at you. But talent? Talent doesn't go unnoticed forever. You've got to work harder than anyone else, even when no one's watching. You hear me?" Marcus nodded. Something about the janitor's quiet conviction lit a spark inside him. From that day on, Marcus trained relentlessly. He couldn't afford fancy gyms or personal coaches, but he made do with what he had. Early mornings were spent sprinting up the hill behind his neighborhood. Evenings saw him practicing his kicks against the wall of an abandoned warehouse. Coleman often joined him after work, offering pointers and encouragement. Months turned into years, and Marcus grew stronger, faster, sharper. Despite his setbacks, he never missed an opportunity to play. Local street tournaments, pick-up games, or wherever there was a ball, Marcus was there. One rainy evening, a scout named Jeff Walker happened to pass by a scrappy game in the park. He was about to drive on when Marcus's dazzling footwork caught his eye. Jeff parked his car and watched as Marcus single-handedly weaved through defenders and scored a stunning goal. After the game, Jeff approached him. "Kid, you've got something special. Ever thought about going pro?" Marcus's heart raced. "Yeah, broken bar, I've dreamed of it," he stammered. "Then let's make it happen," Jeff said, handing him a business card. Under Jeff's guidance, Marcus trained harder than ever, eventually earning a spot on a semi-pro team. It wasn't long before his skill and determination caught the attention of major league scouts. By the time he signed with a top-tier team, Marcus's name was already creating buzz. But Marcus never forgot where he came from or who believed in him when no one else did. Years later, during the World Cup, Marcus stood on the grandest stage of all. The crowd roared as he dribbled past 3 defenders and launched the ball into the top corner of the net, clinching the championship for his team. As he raised the trophy, tears streaming down his face, the cameras caught him mouthing a single word, "Coleman." Back home, An older, retired janitor sat in a small living room, watching the broadcast on an old TV. As Marcus dedicated the win to the man who taught me to believe in myself, Coleman wiped a tear from his cheek. Marcus went on to inspire millions, not just with his athleticism but with his story of perseverance. He built training centers for underprivileged kids, ensuring no child with a dream would feel the sting of rejection as he once had. Because of him, the world learned a powerful truth: it's not where you start that defines you, it's where you're willing to go. And for Marcus, that journey began with a kind janitor who saw greatness in a boy the world had overlooked. Months after the World Cup, Marcus decided to return to his old neighborhood. The streets looked smaller now, the cracks in the sidewalks deeper, but they carried the same sense of resilience he remembered. He parked in front of the school where it all began, the place where his dreams were once dismissed. Inside the gym, time had stood still. The same creaky bleachers lined the walls, and the faint smell of old leather and sweat lingered in the air. Marcus spotted Coach Harper, now older but still pacing the sidelines as he barked at a group of young players. Marcus approached, his presence silencing the gym. Harper turned, his face a mixture of surprise and discomfort. "Marcus, I didn't think you'd come back here," the coach said, his voice hesitant. "I had to," Marcus replied, his tone calm but firm. "This is where it all started. Where I learned what rejection feels like." The room fell silent. The young players stared wide-eyed, recognizing the world-famous athlete standing before them. "I'm not here to hold grudges," Marcus continued, looking directly at Harper. "I'm here to tell these kids something I wish someone had told me back then: no matter what anyone says, your dreams are valid. Your worth isn't determined by someone else's opinion." The boys erupted into cheers, their admiration palpable. Harper nodded stiffly, perhaps realizing the weight of his past mistakes. Later that day, Marcus made his way to a modest house at the end of a quiet street. He knocked, and after a moment, the door creaked open. "Marcus?" Mr. Coleman's voice was filled with disbelief. "It's me," Marcus said, smiling. "I owed you a visit." The two men embraced, the bond between them as strong as ever. Marcus handed Coleman a small box, and when the older man opened it, his hands trembled. Inside was a gold World Cup medal, engraved with the words, "To the man who believed in me first." "This belongs to you," Marcus said. "No, son," Coleman replied, his voice thick with emotion. "It belongs to the boy who never gave up." They sat together for hours, reminiscing about the past and dreaming of the future. Marcus's story didn't just inspire kids on his old block. It sparked a movement. His training centers became hubs for aspiring athletes from all walks of life, places where dreams were nurtured instead of dismissed. He established scholarships and mentorship programs, ensuring no child had to face the obstacles he once did alone. Years later, during an interview, Marcus was asked what kept him going through all the rejection and hardship. He smiled and said, "A janitor told me once that talent doesn't go unnoticed forever." And he was right. But the real secret is kindness, or the kind that helps someone stand back up when the world knocks them down. And in stadiums around the globe, whenever Marcus played, the chants of the crowd carried his name not just as an athlete, but as a symbol of hope. Because Marcus wasn't just a player, he was proof that greatness is born from resilience, and that one small act of kindness can change the world.